Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Soul Professional Podcast, a global conversation series where curiosity leads, consciousness expands, and science meets soul. I'm your host, Camille Miller, joined by my co-hosts, Adam Guzman Poole and Adam Dickinson. Together, we explore the questions humanity is finally ready to ask, bridging worlds, perspectives, and ways of knowing. We're not here to provide answers. We're here to open portals to bigger conversations. So let's begin today's conversations with Andrew Koenigsberg is an intuitive entrepreneur and community builder dedicated to transforming businesses through his unique approach. With over 30 years of experience, he guides organizations in harnessing their innate wisdom. As the founder of Flip Switch LLC, he helps clients cross the across the private, public, and nonprofit sectors achieve sustainable growth. In addition to his consulting work, Andrew is also a producer with a Tony nomination. He is also an Akashic Records reader, and we are going to dive right in to learn more about Andrew, and you can read his full bio in the show notes. Well, welcome, Andrew, to our show.
Neil, thank you for having me. And Adam, it's great to see you both as well.
So
Yeah,
we I was going to say, we always like to start off with a little bit of your background so we can ease the audience into the logical side of you and how you kind of bridged into the Akashic Records and the spiritual side of you. I will mention that you were introduced to us through Adam D, and you introduced the Akashic Records to our one and only Adam D Akashic Record reader.
Indeed. Indeed.
And
yeah,
just a note for our audience, Adam D coins Andrew as his Yoda. So we're in for a treat. So
Yeah.
it's my Yoda in a way.
It's going to be a great conversation.
Indeed. Mm-hmm.
So, Andrew, start us off with a little bit of your history, because I know that you do the strategic start of business and you can talk about Flip Switch. So we know who you are, and then we will bridge into how did you get into the spiritual work? But tell us a little bit about the logical side of you first.
Yeah. So, I mean, like many of us, I have a career in working in areas of businesses like finance and human resources and payroll. I worked for several organizations over the last, I guess, the first part of my career, the first 10 years of my career. And then I decided to go into business for myself. And I've been a management consultant for nearly 30 years, where I, come in and help with a lot of change that's happening in organizations. Are the types of clients that I typically find have popped up and I've been a part of over the last 30 years. And it runs the gamut, but it could be a huge, transformation project that they're going through. They might be acquiring, two organizations might be merging together. They're going through a full transformation of their technology solutions. It ran the gamut. And what I often found is that my background in these key areas allowed me to have an entree to come in and work with organizations on, things that are logical, like you said, business process transformation, working with leaders and decision making, allowing them to have some insights into what the strategy should be for the various initiatives that they were looking to accomplish. But that often leads to some other projects that I take on while I'm working with those organizations, which became fascinating for me. How did this keep happening over and over? And so that's part of the, I guess that you could call it the spiritual path that I've been on as well. And yeah, I combined the two together.
So are you saying, like, did you all of a sudden see this? I call it a paradigm shift because I saw it, right? This paradigm shift happening in companies, in leadership, in like there's something greater, more conscious, more heart-centered, more global. Is that what you're talking about?
certainly now, I think
Yeah.
that in the last, I would say 5+ years, there's now much more awareness. I think
Yeah.
individuals and collective groups and teams are realizing that there's more to all of this than they perhaps previously realized. However, you're talking 25+ years ago, what I would often get is I come in and I would be a project manager or a program manager, and I had these responsibilities managing project plans, managing resources, making sure that we were accomplishing the goals they were looking to accomplish. And then about 3 months in, it was always like 90 days, I'd be sitting across from a senior executive, and he or she would sit back and look at me and say, "There's something very different about you. I can't quite put my finger on it."
Oh.
And I would say, and at first, that could be very jarring for someone to hear that out of someone's mouth.
Yeah.
In a professional setting. In a personal setting, it's a little different. But in a professional setting, I was a little taken aback.
Mm-hmm.
And that took me a long time to really sort of go inside and start to understand more clearly what that was. What was different about me? What was the real reason why I was sitting there to begin with?
Did you
And
know?
that's something that it took me a long time. This isn't something that happened overnight. The work started off as sort of a more of a drip, and then by the time where I am now, and I come in and I meet with people, it's like a fire hose, right? Like I really get a lot of information. I know exactly why I'm there and what I'm there to do within a short period of time.
Yeah. I have so
So-
many questions. I don't even know which go ahead.
Can I jump
I
in?
think there are so
wanna,
many
I
directions
know.
we can go in, and
Well,
I want to make sure we hit them all. But go ahead.
Well, I want to dive into that because the part of you that part of you that you say is like more, quote unquote spiritual, that part of you
Sure.
that where you're getting the information. Like, tell us more about that story. Like, how did you like tap into this energy of the Akashic Records? And also, how does that inform the work you do now? Because so for our audience hosts, we didn't even know that when we looked at Andrew's website, there's nothing about his intuitive fire hose ability, right? It's just, he's just there. He comes in as like helping leaders transform their business. And I found this really fascinating in your website. There's this testimonial from someone talking about you, Andrew, and say like, Andrew is amazing. He sees roadblocks and obstacles that, we had no idea that were going to come in. And as I'm looking at this and I'm reading this and I'm like, oh, he's like tapping into an intuitive force. They have no idea where it's coming from, but tell us more about that,
Yeah,
and
I
how,
mean, first of all,
yeah.
there was nothing I was trying to hide from any of these individuals or organizations. I simply, at any contract, I bring all the tools to the table, right?
You
Anything
hit
that
it
is
from
within.
me. I just want to say you hit it from me because I read your bio before we jumped on, and I went, "Why is he on the show? Am I missing something?" And they're like, and Adam D went, "He's my
Trust
Yoda,"
me.
and I'm like, "Oh," I was like, "Why is that not what he wrote back?" So go ahead.
So to Adam G's point, let me provide you my origin story about how I got involved with the records.
Awesome.
And it's a fairly long story, so I'll give you
That's okay.
the quick version, and then you can ask questions. How's that?
Mhm.
So I had an experience. First of all, the first thing you need to understand is that this is a learned thing. Anyone can learn how to access and tap into this energy. This is not, now, I've been told that I have a little bit of an extra gift, and that's how I had awareness even prior to taking the training that I have now had over the last almost 30 years. However, I had an experience, and I think there's a lot of folks that I've talked to that have a spiritual awakening that I don't think this is not a uncommon situation. I was traveling. I lived in Atlanta for 20 some years, and I was on my way to Europe to meet up with my brother. And my brother and I had not actually been speaking for a couple of years. And so I was on an airplane traveling across the Atlantic on a red-eye flight. And I had an interaction with a woman who was a flight attendant who approached me and she said, "There's something very different about you. I'd like to speak with you after the dinner service is served. Would you please meet me back in the galley?" And my first thought was, "Honey, you're barking up the wrong tree. Sorry."
Oh, so you didn't know anything at this point?
Nothing.
just
She just, you know how
emitting
I,
the energy
you know
in
how,
your body, but she was sensitive enough to know you were it.
yeah, you know how flight attendants will come over and they'll lean down, like whisper in your ear kind of thing. I was like, oh, is everything okay? Did I do something wrong? No, no, please, just, if you don't mind, after everything's done, you can come meet me back. So I did. I took a leap of faith, and I went through a range of emotions very quickly over that 1 hour. And I decided, put your big boy pants on and go back and talk to this woman. And so I did. And her name is Yoli. And she explained to me that she had recently got involved in doing the training practices for the Akashic Records. So she was in the middle of learning.
Okay.
She wasn't even a certified instructor, or she was a student. And she said, I have to do a certain number of readings. She goes, but there's something, your aura, like I have other abilities, your aura around you is unreal. I need to talk with you. Would you be okay with that? And I said, oh, okay. And she pulled down the seat in the galley, and then I sat in the jump seat while she explained all of this to me about her origin story and her journey. And I was fascinated.
Okay.
I had talked with tarot card readers in the past before that. And so I was a little skeptical, as one is, that's not really had this kind of experience before. Suffice it to say, the conversation that we had at 35,000 feet over the Atlantic Ocean changed my life. There's nothing else to say about it other than that. And I eventually, within a couple of years, went and took the courses because Yoli became an instructor of the Akashic Records. And I took her course. At that time, she was living in Miami. And I flew to Miami and I took several courses. And then I wrote my husband in, and he took the courses with me as well, because he was a major skeptic. And we both came away from the experience understanding that there is something to this that we don't quite understand, but we're just going to have to accept the fact that there is something very real about all of this. And it just became a thread, maybe even more than a thread, a lane in my life that has served me ever since, in a positive and sometimes challenging way, because sometimes we're not ready to hear what the information is coming through. And like it or not, here it comes.
Yeah, so when you were sitting in that seat during dinner service or whatever in the back of a plane, and she's telling you about the Akashic Records.
Well, she asked me if she would be willing to do a reading, if I would be willing to allow her to do a reading for me.
I gotcha.
And so she opened my records individually.
You went back to your seat or on your way, or so the next
I was taking notes. I took notes in a notebook because I had a notebook with me. I took it immediately out and I started writing down things. Because I thought, I don't know what this is about, but I could feel the gravity of the situation and how important it was. It's hard to describe. There is something, it's like as if there were beings that came in and they were just like, you are in the right place at the right time. Pay attention.
So as a sitter, can you feel your records open? I'm sorry. As a sitter. So the person, there's a reader and a sitter. So
yeah. As the person being, on the readie. Yes, there were some things I felt about it. I had some, I would say, and at first I didn't know how to accept it, but there were certain things that were explained to me in that reading. There was just no way that this individual could have known. There was also things about the future that I was completely, that really drew me in, especially about my professional future. And I have to tell you, in that conversation, she outlined the rest of my professional life.
Wow.
Where I am today is exactly in line with what was described to me that evening that happened almost 29 years ago. Yeah.
Wow. So she told you about this podcast. It's amazing.
No,
I'm just kidding.
But she did tell me about like larger shifts, like that I would be considered at some point a leader in this movement. What does that mean? I don't know. That I would go around the world and around the country, and because at that time I was working for a consulting firm. I wasn't out on my own. I didn't have my own business. She goes, "Oh, you're very entrepreneurial." Yeah, but I think maybe like maybe when I'm in my 40s and I'm all settled. No, it's going to happen in the next 3 years. And she was exactly right. Almost to the day.
So have you ever, before that moment, did you ever hear the word Akashic Records?
No,
Yeah.
never.
So when you got off that plane, did you Google it?
Well,
Like,
remember, this is 1997. So
oh,
yes, the
so
Google existed, but
not
I
for
think
everybody.
I think I had a couple conversations first. Like I was talking with my brother because he and I were reconciling, and I go, I'm sorry, I have to tell you what just happened. We were staying together in Venice, Italy. It's the first time I was in Venice. So now I'm in this beautiful, very historic place, and I'm trying to understand all and reconcile all that's just happened. And so he was there. So I told him all about it, and I think he thought I was a little bit, really?
Yeah.
Well, I think you should go back, and I think you should, not to say that you're crazy, but you should, research more about this. And so I did. I did go back and I researched. I had several conversations with others in my personal sphere that I trusted that were a little bit more spiritual than I was, right? Like I was, I think I tapped into a lot of information. I would get data, and I use the word data because I'm going to explain to you how everyone's a little different, how they connect. And for me, I get a lot of data. I get a lot of like probabilities. So I'm talking with someone and I can say, this is interesting. I ask questions because the records are all about the art of the question.
Mm-hmm.
You say a vibrational key, which then aligns you, call it, you're on a gamma wavelength, you're on a theta wavelength. You are connecting into the source energy that allows you to ask questions and then get answers. And it's how you follow up and ask more questions is how you're able to then ascertain, and you're not, obviously, the information is not limitless. You're not going to get answers that you're not supposed to get. Because my belief is that we're here to have an experience. And so not all the information is meant to be shared, or it would be cheating.
Mm-hmm. Andrew, I have a follow-up question to that. Or unless Adam, do you have a question?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so
he's heard all this before.
Yeah. Well, and I this is for our listeners who may have not seen Adam Dickinson's episode. We went a little bit into like so tell us more about the records, especially because you're Yoda, so you definitely have like a well of wisdom. Like maybe you could tell our listeners maybe what that woman was telling you and explaining to you as you were in that seat. What are some of the things that, for someone who's never heard of the records before, what should they know? And maybe talk a little bit from your own experience, as well as like that more science, soul, logical. How does that actually look? What's happening?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I never had a spiritual experience where someone at that time in 1997, I am a member of the LGBTQIA community. I'm a gay cisgender man, and I was not out at the time. I was way back in the closet. Okay. And I was very focused on my career. I did not have a relationship at that time. And I was living in Atlanta, and I was establishing myself, and I was trying to figure it out. This individual shared with me, she said, "Andrew, it's okay. Like, I know what's going on." What do you mean? And she said, I see you in like an apartment or a condominium, hanging pictures with someone who's going to become the love of your life. Now, unfortunately, you're not going to meet this person for probably about 8 years. So you're going to have 8 years to figure it all out. And I was like, so that's kind of how it started, the conversation about things I had not shared with anyone. And this information was coming through. And then there were messages from family, from relatives, from people I knew that were no longer on this plane of existence that came through as well. I wouldn't say it was very detailed things, but there were things about them, about messages, things they wanted me to hear that I thought was fascinating. But then I immediately I went right to the professional thing because remember at that time that was like my biggest focus was establishing myself professionally. So we spent probably 70% of the conversation talking about where I was going to go, what I was going to do, how I was going to live my life professionally. Because at that time, I was going to work for a big consulting firm and be a partner and do the machine. And she was like, no, that's not what you're meant to do. I know that's what you think today, but you need to give it a little time and you're going to go through it very quickly in the next couple of years. You're going to have some experiences that are going to change your mind about that. But that's okay. You just need to like recognize it, understand, and leave room for how it will unfold. And that's the thing that I want to make sure is very clear also about all of this. You see, there's this thing called free will, and it's a very powerful thing in the universe. As soon as I'm doing a reading for someone, as soon as the information comes out of my mouth and is being received by that person, it can immediately change because they're the ones ultimately that have the opportunity to either decide or at least accept, I should say, not decide, but accept what's being shared and then sit with it and decide how it's going to impact their life. Or they can choose to ignore it, or they can choose to do something completely different. It happens. Go ahead, Adam.
I have to jump in. I'm so sorry.
Ah,
So if I may build on that. So Andrew, when I first met him, was telling me things, and he's exactly right about free will. Like when I first got introduced to some information that he shared with me, I was like, I don't know, but that's freaky that you know that or that he shared that with me. So I just want to put in that little context that when I first met him, the free will part is so true. And if I didn't have sort of background in, you could say, a higher realm, a higher dimension, and getting information before I met him, like there was someone who was really important to me, and that person was very understanding and open-minded about this sort of environment. And so when Andrew met me and he's telling me this stuff, I was like, okay, that's really weird. But I'll sit with it and decided to move forward with what, he caught my attention and then, he introduced me to his sister.
and I remember very clearly the conversations, Adam D, you and I had. And I can tell you when the signal is strong, I can almost like on the landscape in my mind's eye, I can see the probabilities of certain things happening. Now, I don't always share those unless I'm asked to share them. I share whatever comes through, but I kind of see like, and the numbers sometimes they're like changing. And it's because of free will. It's because of how that signal, how that information is being received. We're all here to have an experience. And so there were things that I was almost positive. I've had done readings for people or I've had a conversation with people and I've been in their records and I could tell you with certainty that something was going to happen, but then never materialized. And that was a very difficult lesson for me to learn. And also, not really sharing information unless the information is being asked and is being received in a way that I think is for the best and highest of all. I've learned a lot of lessons with that as well. I think that, especially with friendships, you can sometimes overshare and it becomes overwhelming. And then you become the person that told them,
Yeah.
I said, well, it wasn't me. But that's very difficult at that point to unravel.
That makes sense. So I just want to clarify for our listeners when Adam D said you introduced your sister, that Andrew's sister is a teacher of the Akashic Records. So for all of our listeners that heard that.
It's a family affair. It's a family affair.
And I have to tell you, like one of the things that's been a fascinating journey for me is this kind of coach role that I often play. So I have taught. I mean, I've actually participated in teaching within Cynthi's program, and then before that, I had another teacher that lives out here in the Bay Area. I'm in California, by the way, in Sonoma County, and I've had a number of teachers, including my original teacher, Yoli, who I still keep in touch with as well. And for me, the fascinating part is, this whole journey of understanding your role that you're supposed to play in this, call it a game, call it a paradigm. There is a role, and I have to pay attention to what the purpose is. What purpose am I playing in this person's life? And there are no accidents.
Yeah.
There simply just aren't any.
Yeah.
Mm.
I
And Andrew,
oh, go ahead.
oh yeah, no, go for it, Camille.
So
I'll
this
jump
is-
on after.
This is
Yeah.
for me as well as the listeners. And Adam D, you can chime in on this with Andrew. I've never had my records read. So the way you're explaining it, I was like, how is that different than going to a psychic? I can tell you in my head how I think it's different, but I want you guys to explain as readers, if I'm going to have my records read, how is going to you different than going to a psychic or a medium? And I was actually really surprised when you said you got messages from people that have passed, which I didn't know that could even be done.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that Yoli is a medium per se, but I have had situations where when you have somebody's records open, messages can come through, the names pop up, and you ask the question like, does the name Milton mean anything to you? Yes, that was my grandfather. Okay, well, let me ask some more questions about what Milton wants, because Milton just came in to the room, so to speak. And I'm like, oh, okay. So that's kind of how it works. I wouldn't call myself a medium. I would say that I definitely tap into psychic energy, but I don't think that's an innate ability that we bring into this life isn't a pre-qualification for you to be able to tap into this energy and to be able to use the records as a tool for yourself and others.
So
because I can tell you that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Can all readers, like Adam D, you can chime in. Can you read like a medium? Like, is that a thing like all readers do? I'm still trying to figure out what's the difference.
Yeah, I mean, my sister has had, I think, students come through her program that I have been present for that are mediums. That exhibit psychic energy, but they're like, this is maybe another tool in my toolbox. I should learn about this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But doing the Akashic Records is different than being a medium.
It is indeed.
One without the other.
That's right.
So I think Camille's question is, how is it different?
Yeah,
I think that well, first of all, I think the biggest difference is being an Akashic Records reader is an active process. You are accessing, asking questions, and receiving information. I know many mediums and psychics who receive information whether they've asked or not.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just an innate ability where information is flowing through and they just happen to be innately aware of how they should share it, or they have to, versus the Akashic Records, you don't ask, you don't get.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, I mean that's why, like, Camille, I remember you asking me what it's like with my records, and I'm like, well, I feel like I have a spiritual AI chat bot wherever I go, because I'm always engaging Chat GPT, the spiritual version, wherever I am, but that's more the advanced behind the scenes.
I mean, that's also a good distinction that we should call out for you guys and your listeners.
Yeah.
You can access your own records, which is very powerful. In fact, I think the fact of one accessing their own records is infinitesimally more powerful than doing a reading for someone else. They're both very important, but being able to sit and have your own records open and ask questions about your own experience, about your own path, about the questions that relate to yourself and your soul experience and your soul path are extremely important. Yes, then you going and having a conversation with someone to be able to provide that ability to someone else and extend that ability to be able to access that energy to answer questions for someone else is also quite rewarding, because I can tell you it's always reciprocal as well. That's another fascinating aspect of this work, is that you often find that the situation that unfolds is exactly relevant for you as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's freaky.
Freaky. I love it. So Andrew, can you tell us how this instructs your work now as you're, like I chatted about that quote that tells you that you're able to read the obstacles that are coming. So how do you use that in your work as a leader and a manager supporting businesses thrive?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's funny that you should bring up about the website, because every single client that I've had in 25 years has been through word of mouth. I've never had to advertise. You see my LinkedIn profile, you notice there's nothing on there. It's a pretty basic resume, CV type thing. My website is pretty generic, but I found people wanted to have something. You had to have something to be able to describe what you did out in the world. And so that's what that is. For me, opportunities they tend to come in, and I get this feeling there's like a vibration, this is something I need to do.
Mm.
And then it just unfolds. And so the answer to your question is that when these opportunities present themselves and we come up with an opportunity, what is the scope of what I am to do with this organization or this team or this executive or this leader, whatever the situation is, I then spend some time asking a lot of questions about, because I can, as a part of the agreement, I can have access to be able to open the records for the individual, for the team, or for the organization.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, sometimes I don't even have to do that. It feels so in the flow that information just starts coming through about, this is the real challenge of why you're here. And it comes through much faster now than it used to. And that's where I have a strong sense of responsibility to make sure that I recognize that not everything that I, as a human being, think needs to happen is what is going to unfold. And that's one of the hardest things to learn when you have access to this information, is you have to let it unfold the way that it's supposed to. And that might mean sometimes that I move on from those clients earlier than perhaps they want me to.
Mm.
But I've had a lot of success in working with organizations and not necessarily coming into them and saying, okay, here's the deal. I asked the spirit, the light beings, and they told me this is what we should do. That's not how this works. This is very practical. I ground energy by doing the work that they need to have done tactically, and then strategically work on the other aspects of why I'm there as well.
Do you read the organization itself and then each of the leaders and then kind of combine
I
it?
start off slowly. I don't like jump in the deep end of the pool right away, but I sort of like, the individuals that I'm meeting, the situation that is, what they believe they need for me to do. So it's just like a little bit of easing into it. And then it naturally, I tell you, like it's like clockwork. Within 90 days, at least one senior executive in every organization I work with looks at me and says, I don't understand what's going on here. Like, who are you?
Yoda.
What, I don't understand. How could you possibly understand all of that? You've only been here for a few weeks.
And now you can share this episode.
So
and now they're all gonna be like,
aha.
So, and Andrew, would you be willing to share like a specific success story of like what that actually process looks like? Do you have anything easily to grab that just comes to mind?
Yeah, I mean, I have some passion projects. And you've seen I've got myself into working with artists, creative, and that's one of the things that I love about this world that we live in, is whether it doesn't matter what it is, but creating something from nothing, that whole process, it's ugly, and it's, a lot of times there are more variables than constants. I love that kind of environment, and I love being able to help individuals figure out how to answer those questions ultimately in the time in which they're supposed to, not when they want them to. So I spend a lot of time explaining to people about how things really work in a practical way. And then that's when they finally start looking at me like, oh my God, like, what is it talking about? And then they start to realize what it is, because we start making progress. So, the current client that I'm working with, I do a lot of work in theater, and working with creative types is a fascinating experience. I've worked with scientists and I've worked with artists, and you know what? They're almost identical. Like they come from a different angle, but they're like the same kind of energy that they bring to the table.
Mm-hmm.
And organizations often are, I use the term running with scissors. Remember that term? Like we're just going to go right down the aisle and we're just going to like, doesn't matter. No one's going to get in our way. And so, yeah, I can see like the promise of what an artistic endeavor could be. And I have to be very careful, but I do provide guidance. I'm a bit like Willy Wonka, don't do that. Stop that. And we should do it a little differently. We have to change our approach. And it takes a long time to build trust. And so I've had a lot of success in the last 10 years. I had to learn a lot of lessons though, Adam G. It didn't come easy, but I feel like now I step in and I'm still learning to trust my own instincts and the information that's coming through, because sometimes my own humanness gets in the way of what I want to accomplish professionally, of what I need, abundance wise. And so that's where there's conflict, and you have to then unwind that and realize, and through meditation, through just stepping back and taking a few deep, 4 deep breaths and recognizing, that this isn't just about, what I need, but I've often found, and this is something that is very important, that my own well-being is often cared for if I follow the right path. And when I say that, I mean explaining and bringing through the information and the role that I'm playing to be able to help. And I've had, mid-level executives, high-level executives come to the table and say, after working with you, I realized I need to move on. I'm not in the right place. And that's really been sort of the message all along. But you don't come out of the gate and, and get the knife out, so to speak. You sort of have to let it unfold over time, and they come to the conclusion. But if it had not been for those conversations, if it had not been for that process, they would never have come to that conclusion, and the organization may not have accomplished what they were really setting out to accomplish. Those types of scenarios are not easy. Simple, but not easy. And I think that I have to say, I've been really quite, I would use the word blessed by having an opportunity to be working in these, I don't know very many other consultants that work in the public sector. I've worked with state governments. I've worked with governors. I've worked in Fortune 500 companies in the private sector, and I've worked with large, nonprofit organizations as well. And they're all different. And I've learned a lot about the tactical side, as Camille said, the real logical side of how we need to find our way in the business world within these organizations. But it's the other work that has been the most rewarding for me.
Wow.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, Andrew, I'm glad you called out that there's a business case for the Akashic Records.
Right? I mean, here's the thing, and this is something that I talk about with Cindy, who, by the way, is the name of my sister.
And
we talk about this all the time.
Good to know.
and like, what is the right, how do you market this? Like, because I have skills, because I have done all this other work, I mean, there's obviously demand for that. But what if I could, just dispense with the, helping them with their payroll or helping them with their finance stuff? I can do it, but it's not really the value proposition of what I bring to the table. How does one market themselves to be able to say, hey, you guys are having some challenges. I can come in and help. I'm like, I don't know. I think Adam D, I told you this once before. Someone told me you're like a tuning fork. Like, bing, and
Yeah.
you come in and it's like all of a sudden like you're around and we figure things out faster. And I thought, is it because of the things that I ask? Is it because of my presence? They're like all the above.
Mm.
It's just having you involved in facilitating our conversations. It's obvious that we get through the muck of life and where we're trying to go faster. And I thought, well, thank you. And that's what you're seeing, Adam G, as some of the, you know, the information that I've shared on my website, which is actually a little outdated now. I probably need to update that. But I've worked with some folks in various industries, and yeah, I mean, I think it's I'm very proud of the work that's,
Mm.
and I look forward to
Yeah.
doing more of it. And so here I am.
Well,
I was just gonna say, I feel like that is like the future of where we're going, and where my work has always been like in strategy and then try to like alignment. But recently, and I'd love to hear your words on this. Recently, I feel like everyone's looking for self mastery and that coherence like I've never seen before. Like all of a sudden strategy is secondary and people are calling me because I am intuitive, and people will call me and they're like, "Can you ask your spirit team though?" And I'm like, "No one's ever, where are you people coming from?" Because they know. And I'm like, that is so weird. So are you seeing, I'm hearing that you're seeing the same thing. And I know you
I
just said it's
am.
hard to market, but people just start asking for it. And I'm like, do I put it out there? Do I not put it out there? It's kind of weird, but that's actually how I see it. I always see, well, I can kind of see what others can't, but really my spirit team is just telling me and showing me.
Yeah,
So
I mean, I think
yeah,
that first
same.
of all, yes, I think
Yeah.
that what you're saying is spot on. I think that there's more awareness in the world now. I think that within businesses, I think that we talk about wellness. What does wellness really mean?
Mm,
And to me, wellness, there's a lot of categories, subcategories there, but alignment is a strong characteristic of wellness.
yeah.
And I think it's providing tools for people to be aligned. What, like, am I supposed to be here? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And their work within the Akashic Records to get into their own records, it can provide valuable insights. Not to say that they're going to run out the door, but certainly have more perspective on what they thought that their mission, their personal mission should be, versus what the reality of what their capabilities are and what they should be focused on. And then all of a sudden, the energy shifts and they get into the flow. I work with a lot of executives that are terrified, that they walk through life terrified. They have a really good mask that they wear,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone's just impressed by them. But the imposter syndrome is so strong. And I've worked with them and validated how untrue that is. Or what exercises can we do to give you more confidence? That typically doesn't happen at all within organizations. Nobody is coaching, and a life coach or a professional coach, certainly those, a
Yeah.
certified coach, and I am an ICF coach. I understand the process. I just have a hard time. I can't just keep it to myself. A lot of times coaching, you're supposed to lead the witness, but not tell them what to do. And that's where I have a couple of hats on the hat rack. I'm also a consultant, and so I can help. And so the difference is to make sure it's very clear which hat you're wearing and how you
Yeah.
can help. And I think
Understood.
that, to your point, I think that this is the next step of the additional layer of bringing these tools and bringing this mindset to the table to move things forward faster.
Yeah. I call them
Mm.
the seekers. Like for soul professionals, we are starting to get like a lot of what I'm calling seekers. They're still in their corporate jobs and doing their thing. Maybe they're
So, Camille, do
listening.
you think they have an experience that introduces them to it, and that's what they're now
Yeah.
seeking?
Yeah. And they don't know what they're looking for. They just know because their intuition and stuff is awakening. They're going through an awakening right now. Like
Yeah,
we figured it out a little earlier, but there's a big mass awakening happening right now. And people are going,
no doubt.
Hmm.
I know something, I'm feeling something, but I really don't want to talk to anyone about it. It's like coming out of the spiritual closet, we always called it. And I can't tell you, it doesn't happen as much anymore. But when we started, the amount of calls I used to get, like, I haven't told anybody. but I feel like I can tell you. Or they would
I
show up
meditate.
to a meeting and they'd be like, my family doesn't know I'm here. This is when we were in person. And I'd be like, this is wild. I did not see this happening. And that's why our core values are safety and belongingness. I need to make sure that
Absolutely.
everyone is safe to come out where we are. And I feel like sometimes people try to infiltrate our community, but our vibration is so high that it makes them uncomfortable. So it self-selects.
And that's where, you have to meet people where they are.
Oh,
And it's
absolutely.
our responsibility, to your point, Camille,
Yeah,
to make sure that you are dialing it back or dialing it up based upon, and that's
absolutely.
where I use the Akashic Records all the time to provide that guidance, because I don't know it all. I don't have all the information within my being to be able to understand that path. The tools to tap into, to ask and get and receive valuable information that is
Yeah.
pure, that is
Yeah.
only for the best and highest of everyone involved.
Yeah. I think it's important, especially for our listeners, if you're a seeker, that I believe everyone has these special abilities. We just tune them out, or we don't know how to get them a little more fine-tuned. Like I always tell people, like I have a spirit team toast me. I have no idea. I can't control it. I don't know, right? And we had another guest that Adam D and I know that said, that's because you don't practice. I'm like, okay, I get it. Right. And the
Adam
quieter
D
I
and I
get,
had lots of conversations about that.
the more, right. And just doing this podcast, right? Because obviously we've recorded a lot by the time we've gotten to you. So it's just like, it's practice. And it's so interesting when people share their stories about them learning this piece, like you shared on the plane, and then you did your own little research, and it took you years before you mastered it, and you probably read a book or two and were a little curious. So
Or
I always say
10.
it's like dipping your toe into the spiritual pool, and it's like you're going for the swim. You're just kind of like warming up your body, like it kind of feels good.
Yeah. I mean, I have to say, that, like I said, there's a vibrational key to be able to open your own records. I did that, I think, every single morning after I brushed my teeth in the mirror
Oh
for
wow.
probably 20 years.
Wow.
Every morning, my own records, every morning. And all of a sudden, one day I woke up and all of a sudden I was like, what's going on? I'm getting all this information. And they're like, you don't have to do that anymore. You're in. You're just in.
Oh, that makes
Interesting.
sense.
Okay. And I still do it like when there's something I really need to like get quiet, and I've my own personal, like I open my records when Adam D asked me if I'd be willing to do this. I said, just give me a little bit. I'm going to go and do some work. And what I was doing was opening my own records and saying, and they're like, hell yeah. What are you waiting for? And so here I am.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Can I build on that just a moment? So Andrew, one of the things that I think I may have mentioned, I know on other podcasts I've mentioned this, but I feel like I have a soul family, which you are definitely a part of. So for our listeners, if you could maybe share a little bit more, because I feel like if you're a seeker and you are coming out and trying to explore and be curious, like it can be scary or
Oh
uncomfortable.
yeah.
So, finding your soul family can definitely be helpful. I am kind of curious if you might be able to share a little bit more about how you and Cindy, help one another. I know I come to you on occasion to help me when I'm having trouble or when I'm triggered. So can you tell a little bit about that? Like that's kind of an additional practical tool for our listeners to have
Yeah.
other wise leaders like yourself.
Yeah. So first of all, I mean, this is a community like any other. So Cindy, there's a community here in the Bay Area that I used to be very a part of, and then I got really busy working, and so I haven't been to any of those meetings in a while. And really, it's just like we get in and we open up the whole group's records, and it's just like an hour of everyone just reading each other's energy and providing information. But like Cindy and I and Adam, you and I, also do this, periodically. I find that I need feedback. I'm also wanting to trust in the information that I'm receiving about myself. And so often there's value. And I guess, as I said earlier, there's a reciprocal value in reading each other's records, bi-directionally. And so Cindy and I, we get together probably at a minimum once a month, but typically every few weeks. And I mean, we're also siblings, right? We're actually step siblings, but she's my sister, right? Like that's the way I look at it. But you know, what's going on in your life? What's going on? I mean, catching up, but also in the records, and and whether it be information about my nieces, or they're looking to maybe make a move in the next couple of years, and I'm asking questions about my Broadway show that I've been developing for 5 years, that it's hitting my head against the wall. Because working on an artistic endeavor is never the easiest thing, but very rewarding for me. There are lots of things in life that you can get guidance from one another with, and having those close connections. But then there's also, Cindy has a whole community of people that she's taught. And so she'll send emails out, once every month or once every 2 months. And they have sessions where we all log in and we talk, and Cindy provides any updates to what's going on in, with the practice that she has, but also giving folks to have some exercises to really be able to have some breakout sessions and talk about, what their experiences are, any questions that they have about their own life, or about just in general in the world right now, because there's a lot to talk about. Let me tell you.
I yeah, there's a lot going on.
Just a little.
Just a bit. Well, I just want to shameless plug for the soul professional. So if you need a community, join the soul
Join our
professional,
movement.
join the
Absolutely.
movement. Let's get together in community. So Andrew, this is the final question we usually ask our folks when they're in our show, and it's really, you've heard a little bit about the soul professional and these people that are kind of bridging these two worlds, like the business world or whatever world you're in, the education, and bringing in that soul, bringing in that spirit from that logic, that heart, and that head. So I'm curious, as we talk about the little bit that's going on in the world right now, maybe the lot of it, I'm curious to know your feeling on, what's our responsibility as soul professionals in today's day and age for being that change that we so desperately really need right now.
Yeah, I think it's really important for us to be working diligently in raising the vibration of the world and those around us. To me, this is a grassroots community effort. And it doesn't matter whether you're talking with someone professionally or you're talking with someone personally, friendships. There are ways to be able to certainly take the time to grieve some of the challenging things that are happening in the world, that we shouldn't ignore that. But then there's the opportunity to decide how to turn the corner and raise the vibration, because it's the only thing that is going to help us to work through, to be able to allow for us. What's going to unfold in the future, I think, is going to be a much more worthwhile, planet, universe, for us to be able to become what we're meant to become and not be held back from, the energy that is not so positive. But you can't have the dark. You can't have the light without the dark. And that's something that I think I have learned as well. And so you accept it. And I think finding ways, no matter what it is, to raise vibration and to help one another and listen to one another and love one another.
Mm. Mm.
I love that.
Thank you
so
for
much.
that. Thank you for that, Andrew.
One thing I want to share before we wrap up.
Please.
So I don't know if you're fans of Oracle cards. I have been gifted a couple of sets in my life. And I decided this morning, when I sat down here at my desk and was thinking about this podcast, I went ahead and shuffled my little handy Oracle deck here that I happen to have on my desk. And I pulled one card. Sometimes I pull three. Today I only pulled one card. And the card was Soul Experience.
Mm.
And I'll just quickly read to you what it says, because I think it's pertinent.
Please.
We are all here to experience life in many different, unique ways. Some experiences are already planned for us before we're even born. They are soul experiences. This situation you are seeking an answer to is a soul experience. It is never meant to be understood on a conscious level. It is all part of the experience of your evolving soul in this lifetime.
Wow.
Hmm.
Wow.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
A pleasure. Thank you all.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing your time, Andrew. And it will be in the show notes if you're listening to this, but how best can people get in touch with you if they want to learn more about you and your work in the world?
Yes, you can certainly go to my website, which is flip-switch.com. I also have included my LinkedIn profile, so you can send me a message on LinkedIn. You can also find me on Instagram. You can just put my name in and find me that way as well. Yeah, I'm open to new connections, certainly opportunities to help professionally in the world for those individuals that are seeking assistance.
Mm. Yeah, I don't know about you folks, but I certainly want a reading from Andrew. He's awesome. It's like
So we can work on that.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes.
Yeah, right on. Thank you
Yes.
so much for your time, Andrew. It's been such a pleasure. Or should I say
Emil.
Yoda?
Emil, Adam G, thank you so much. It's been a
Thanks,
pleasure.
Andrew.
Thank
Appreciate you.
Likewise.
And we want to thank our listeners for listening to us today. This episode of the Soul Professional Podcast, part of the Soul Professional Global Conversation Series. If this dialogue sparked something for you, we invite you to continue the conversation by subscribing, sharing this episode, or connecting with the Soul Professional community at soul, S-O-U-L, professional.com. Come join us for networking, a healing circle, oracle card reading, and the many programs that we have. It is a free, community-supported program. We are spanning 6 continents now. We are in 48 countries of people that are coming together and joining our movement. If this sounds like you, we say a soul professional is someone who lives in a higher vibration, has an alternative approach to business, and is here to help repair the world. So if that sounds like you, come over and visit us at soulprofessional.com. This series is an open invitation to explore, question, and expand together. Until next time, stay curious, stay conscious, and stay connected. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.